47 years ago, one of the most loved comedy sketches of the modern era was discovered in the way most great things are, by accident. Carl Reiner was testing a tape recorder when he asked his friend Mel Brooks if it was true that he was at the crucifixion some 2,000 years ago. Mel Brooks' improvised response led to a full routine, which in turn led to some Grammy-nominated albums and several books. Nearly a half-century later, as we approach the next millennium, it seemed only fitting that they resurrect their creation. The 2,000-year-old man in the year 2000 is both a book and a CD, and I'm pleased to have two of the great names in comedy, Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, right here at my table. Thank you very much.
And it's our pleasure to be here, Charlie. We watch you late at night when we can't sleep. We watch you grill people and interrogate. Yes. We watch you ask Michael Eisner very embarrassing questions about money.
Yeah.
You ask him something like, do you make $120 million a year? And he said, no, nowhere near that, nowhere near 117. But I mean, you're very embarrassing. You know?
Was I?
And it was great. But I thought he handled it rather well, because you really, you were nailing him. You were asking him, those corporate questions about why Ovitz got such a wonderful departure package, and why Katzenberg is trying to get back, suing. And,
so what do you think is going to happen in that litigation?
I think they will settle. They always settle. They never go to court because they don't want that dirty laundry to come out.
They don't want some lawyers saying, right. What do we have here?
Exactly.
Let me see your book, sir.
That's
always what they
settle.
don't want, right?
I made a movie called The Producers, my first movie.
My favorite movie of all that you made.
And I thought...
Say thank you, man.
Say thank you.
Thank you so much.
It is. It's your favorite
movie. It is my very favorite.
Yeah, but go ahead.
So I asked Joseph E. Levine, whose company distributed the movie, AFCO. I said, I'd like to see the books, Joe. I haven't seen them. He said, see, open and read them. So I checked very carefully where we could. The books were in Fairbanks, Alaska. That's where he kept them. He kept the books in Fairbanks.
Go to Fairbanks.
You want to see the books? I said, the plane fare would wipe out whatever I'm going to make.
I don't believe that story.
No, it's true. He said they're there.
Joseph E. Levine.
Joseph E. Levine.
Embassy Pictures kept their books in Fairbanks.
They kept their books in Fairbanks, Alaska.
All right, let's talk about the 2,000-year-old man for a second, for a minute or two even. Did this start the way the story goes?
Yes,
You're
actually.
fooling around with a tape recorder.
Well, that's the way we said it one time, but the actual thing, which I've done many times, is, you know a fellow named J. Walter Thompson?
Of course.
I mean, a fellow
Advertising agency.
Right, Dan Seymour, who was the president. Before that, well, you might be the president of a big company someday, because he started out as a host of a show called We the People Speak. And he had a wonderful voice. Yeah. And he actually said this, and I heard him say it. Watching television, and he says, here's a man who was actually in Stalin's toilet. And he heard the premier of the USSR say, and a recreated voice said, we're going to blow up the world Thursday. And I said, I came to the office of the shows, and I said, this is crazy, the most irresponsible thing I've ever... If it's true, tell the president. Don't tell Truman. Don't tell... Mel was sitting on the couch, 1950. I'll never forget it, because he's sitting there, and I knew if you ask him a question, you always get a good answer, because he had done things in the office that made us roar. And I said, here's a man who was actually at the scene of the crucifixion 2,000 years ago. Isn't that true, sir?
Oh, it's terrible.
You were there?
Yeah, of course.
You knew Jesus?
Yes, I did. You know how much I like rice pudding. I love my favorite thing is rice pudding. Couldn't eat it that night.
Why?
No, so the crucifixion was terrible.
The crucifixion was starting.
Yes.
Did you go?
We all went.
Wow.
There was very little entertainment in our day.
Well, you didn't consider that entertainment.
I know it wasn't, but it was an event.
Yes.
It was an event. We all went.
No, it's funny. I'm asking him questions now. These are not the same questions.
Right.
No, these are not the same questions.
I was going to ask too. Well, did you know him? What did he look like?
Well, he was a thin lad, wore sandals, had a lot of guys always hanging around with him. It was like a baseball
like
team.
12 good men.
Yeah. 12. It was about 12 of them that crowded into my candy store. They got out of the sun. Yeah. They never bought anything.
Yeah. Long hair, though, huh?
Long. They asked for water. I gave them water. They were very nice guys, and I, every once in a while, when I was cleaning the counter, I'd say, anybody care for an egg cream, something, a little chocolate soda?
You were nice to them.
They said, no, thank you. No, thank you, no, thank you. And then every once in a while, they'd be talking among themselves, and I would say to them, can I help you guys? And they said, look, this may be our last meeting. We have to All right. I said, if you do buy anything, is it going to be separate checks? Or what's going to be here? You know?
It gets better and better, doesn't it?
No, I was just remembering something. When you oh, never mind.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I just remembered. I once asked you about did he really throw the money lenders out of the church? Was, you know, because I saw this Jesus Christ Superstar, and he was throwing over tables and throwing things around. Was that like Jesus?
No,
a good picture?
he was a quiet lad. You know, he moved by. He would with his stick, he would knock one over quietly.
Yes.
And he'd kick another one over with his sandal. He didn't make a big fuss. He did it lightly and politely.
What did he say?
He'd say, no, not near the shul, not near the temple. Go somewhere else. This is not nice. No. Yeah. Lend money over by the water fountain, not over here, not over here. Break it up, break it up. And they broke it up. He was like a cop. You know?
I see.
Like a cop. He broke it up.
Yeah.
He put it in a nice way.
Yeah.
But did he talk about God?
Not much. No, not much, because he didn't want to get people scared. He didn't want, you know, everybody.
He didn't say, I'm the Son of God.
No, never. He never claimed that. Other people.
Thou hast said it. Somebody, yes. When they said, are you the Son of God? He said, thou hast said it.
Thou hast said it.
He said, that's right. But he said, thou hast, but I didn't, but thou hast.
Yeah. Some say.
Did he speak like that? Did he use thous and these?
These and mostly thous and these.
Was he speaking English? What was he speaking?
He was speaking in a Sumerian and Hebraic tongue.
What did that sound like in the original?
Mininoth to Ruth and her sister Jessie, and everybody in the family.
But Mini Roth is the phrase.
Yes, huh? Mini Roth.
Mini Roth. Mini Roth. Thou hast said it.
Sumerian and Hebrew.
Yes, I see.
Everybody speaks.
Everybody
in those days spoke a little Sumerian, a little Hebrew.
Could you give us an example of a long sentence in Sumerian? Do you know any songs in Sumerian?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Only one.
This is very.
Only
this is a tough
one.
one.
I only can remember, you know, it was a long time ago. Sos gis mulo tis masiro sweet Georgie Brown.
Was that?
I didn't know that.
Musa tusa sweet Georgie Brown.
You know that
was the first song that ever existed.
That I thought it was a modern song.
No.
Oh, wait.
It was the first song in the whole world.
Sweet Georgie Brown?
No, not sweet. Sweet.
Oh, they made it Sweet Georgie. I see. Yeah. Who wrote it in those days?
We don't know. It's Anan wrote it. You know?
A nun?
No.
Anonymous.
Anan. Not a nun. Nuns weren't writing songs in those days. They didn't let women do anything in those days.
No.
Now they can do
The singing nun wrote songs.
Oh. Yes, later.
Later.
Not in those times.
And you saw this happen, and then you began to show it to your friends.
Well, actually, we didn't actually see it happen. What we did was Mel entertained us. Sometimes the writers' room would get very dense we'd get tired, and we needed a laugh because making jokes is hard work. But when we asked him questions, we got things we couldn't do on the air, and that was like jamming. So Mel was available. Anybody could ask him a question. You get something good. And then we started doing it at parties. Then I recorded because he couldn't be with me all the time. I'd say, listen to what Mel did. I had a little Revere tape recorder. We never went to a party that somebody would say, do the 2,000-year-old guy. And we didn't mind doing it because we laughed. He made us laugh.
We did it for fun. We never did it for profit.
No profit there.
And we were very good when we did it for fun. When we did it for profit, we weren't quite as good as when we did it for fun.
Yeah, because we didn't mind. He didn't mind failing.
No, we were free.
In front of his friends.
We were free and we were relaxed, and we weren't worried about any kind of boundaries or hurting people's feelings or getting letters or.
You know,
we just entertained each other, basically, and then we were brought to our knees by capitalism.
Well, I think before that.
Brought to your knees by capitalism?
Yeah, well, I mean, Steve Allen.
Yeah, but before that, I tell you, we started to be like command performances. I remember when Joe Fields invited us in New York, and there was Harold Rome, Lerner and Lowe. Billy Rose was alive then. And here we're doing this thing, and we're saying we're making very important people laugh. Never thought of anything but, you know, like Mozart entertained in the salon. He got paid a few bucks. We didn't get paid. We got a record that...
We got fed.
We got fed, yes.
These were very expensive
and then
parties with very good eats.
They let you eat?
Yeah, right.
Right after that command performance, another one in California. We're both in California. That's when it started, when George Burns heard it, and he said, if you don't
record it,
I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, and then Steve Allen said,
Put it on tape.
Put it on tape, and we did. And we went to World Pacific Records. We did a session, and we said, if we don't like it, can we burn it? It was in the contract. And we got a lot of laughs, so we made our first record.
2 hours of ad-lib stuff cut down to 44,
I told you before,
47
I went to the library and got this album, an LP, 33,
Yes.
and tape recorder.
Isn't that wonderful?
So I could have it and listen to it. I mean, just
If
A
you
little
went-
Southern boy.
little Southern boy, North Carolina, Henderson, North Carolina.
And you dug that. See, that's amazing that to me that would travel to Durham, North Carolina, or Henderson, because we figured it was just like for Jews from Brooklyn, you know, maybe repatriated
Well,
to
for a lot of
LA,
years,
you know.
that's why for 10 years we wouldn't let it out, because we said, no, people don't think we're being anti-Semitic. You know, it's a man's doing a Jewish accent, and it wasn't too late after the war. It was 1950, 47, the war, 45, the war was over. It slowly came back. I think Mel brought back the Jewish accent and made it as darling as it always was.
There was that famous television show with David Susskind. Were you on that with
Yes.
you and David
I think it was
Steinberg?
No, I wasn't there. He
Sons
was.
of
Sons of Jewish,
Jewish
mothers, or
mothers,
something
yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
that was one of the most
David
brilliant
Steinberg
early-
was on it, and
Brilliant.
George Siegel.
That's
and
right, George Siegel.
Dan Greenberg,
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
a writer,
yeah.
and some guy from the Garment Center who was very talented.
For years, people tried to duplicate that. They would say,
Yeah.
if we can get 5 funny people around and we'll talk about it and it'll be great, and nobody could ever do it. You know, there
No,
was
the funniest moment was George was going to get up and
By the ukulele.
play the banjo.
Banjo, right.
And he didn't know that his, I guess the cord around his neck that was attached to the banjo was caught on something. So he stood up suddenly and nearly decapitated himself. We had to revive him right on the show.
No, but you were funnier than I've ever seen in your life. You were hysterical on that show. I don't remember what made me laugh, but you did your
Oh, it was
mother.
energy. It was youthful
Your mother,
energy.
you were doing your mother. I don't
Yeah, I
remember.
was imitating my entire family that lived on the 4th floor. You know, today, if you live on the top floor of any building, you're paying the most rent. I mean, PH, the penthouse. In our day, when you lived on the 5th floor of a tenement, it was the cheapest
It was
apartment.
also a walk-up.
Right. And when you lived to the back, if you lived to the front where you could see people and cats and things, that was pretty amusing. I mean, you paid $2, $4 more rent. But we always lived on the 5th floor in the back. I mean, I never remembered paying more than $16 or $18 a month. And one day we had a council of war. My brother Irving, my father had died a couple of years ago, and Irving was the bread winner. He was only 14 or 15. And he said, I got a part-time job for Mr. Kulik, and I'm delivering, you know, medicines and stuff and running telephone calls, and I'm making $6 a week. I said we moved to the front. And we had and we did. And it was an amazing move. It was the greatest move of
It's like
my life.
across the tracks.
Right.
in
And we
small
moved
southern
from the
town.
back of the tenement where all we saw was wet wash hanging on
Yes,
the,
everybody had that line in the back.
to actually to human beings, to citizens, to peddlers,
Cars running up and down.
You could go out and sit on the stoop.
Yeah, it was so great. I mean, it was like the RKO world.
When did you two meet?
1950.
At the show of shows,
yes.
Who was first?
He was there in 1949. There was a thing called the Admiral Broadway Review. There was a 13-week season, and then the year after that, the show of shows was invented.
We needed a great second banana. We needed a great straight man. Tom Rivera, who was a good singer, was our straight man, and he wore a trench coat and interviewed Sid. And I said, we need somebody splendid to chase you and get the best out of you so we could do the German professor and all those wonderful characters. So we saw you do, I forget what we saw.
The 54th Street
54th Street Review.
There was a review called the 54th Street Review.
And you were so great. So you had just come out of Call Me Mister.
I was a top banana then on that show, but on this show, the top banana was so big and so
that was a big
tremendous that it
banana,
was a
yeah.
pleasure to be a second banana.
Sid Caesar was a bit of a
The
genius.
best banana ever.
And then when we got Carl, things really clicked. The comedy really
What did he
clicked.
bring to it?
Well, Carl brought as
Himself.
he brought many voices, many characters that other interviewers could not do.
You know,
Carl would do the Italian movies almost as well as Sid.
Well, no, that
he
was.
could do a German
well,
movie.
You know, that was interesting because Sid was absolutely still is the best double talker in the history of double talkers. His German, French, Italian, Japanese are impeccable. In my act, I also did Italian, German, and French, but not anywhere near as good as him. And in the third year, I said, I'll never do it on this show because and we got the idea to do movies. I said, well, if he's talking movies. So Max Liebman, I remember he said, what are you talking about movies? And I got up and ad-lib with Sid. I sold him a package of cigarettes in Double Talk, and he bought it in Double Talk. And that began. So I was like making my work for myself because I never could compete with him.
They spoke make-believe Italian and make-believe French and make-believe German, except for the punchline, which was always in English. And that would be, it was always astounding. And you never knew when they were really going to arrive at it. I remember there was one we did called The Bicycle Thief. Or the Stolen Bicycle over here. And you were a guy from out of town, from Milano.
With a beautiful suit, a four-button suit, and knickers, and a bicycle, a brand-new bicycle.
It opened with Sid wearing horseshoes because the horse had died, and plowing the field himself, coming into this little hut. The horse was dead. And
he saw that bicycle, he went nuts.
And his daughter, played by Imogen Coca, saw the bicycle and saw you come with the bicycle.
Oh, she fell in love.
She fell immediately in love with Carl, and they began dancing. And Sid
No, that was another one. That was the that was the cobbler's daughter.
Oh,
in this one, it was the bicycle thief. He stole my bicycle while his daughter was flirting with me.
Yes.
Well, he said, and they stole the bicycle, and then my bicycle disappeared. I go to get on it, and there's no bicycle. I look, as if my bicycle's gone.
And you cried, and then it was wonderful stuff.
But you know, illustrative. Selling the book in Italian or French. Ma ci guardo dopo eterno, quando ci sono i libri, perché faccio un topo ironio, per sezione, insomma, da faccio tutto fuori, viene le monto, per cottori, vi insomma, you see that was the beginning of the beginning of it.
And what did he say?
Cute. He's a cute man.
He said cute man.
Was I pointing to him? I was pointing to him.
Yeah, he's a cute man. No, who else was writing on your show of shows? Doc Simon?
We had Doc Simon.
We always start with the original three.
Well, the original three, I guess the head writer, always the head writer, and a great, great writer was Mel Tolkien.
Who came from Odessa.
Russia.
And then Montreal.
And from Odessa to Montreal.
Right. And he would make jokes like, she married a station beneath her. He got off at 125th Street, and she got off 118th Street. She married a station beneath. And he had all these kind of jokes. But he had a wonderful sense of humor. He also wrote music. Come on and step lightly and move brightly and see Broadway on parade. You know, that was Tolkien. So Tolkien was the head writer. Lucille Callan had worked with him and Max Liebman in Tamament. And so she was like our second.
Two Canadians.
Top writer. And then I guess I came in third.
Mel.
I got some.
Mel was very young, and Sid found Mel.
Yes.
Where did he find you?
Under. Actually, Sid worked in the mountains. And I was in the Borscht Belt.
Right.
You know, and
as a Poconos.
Sid had seen me do a routine that he thought was very funny. I would do a routine about Jews dying, and I would say, you know how Jews die? They eat too much sour cream right after lunch. And in the sour cream, they put chopped vegetables. They put chopped turnips. They put chopped radishes. They put chopped cucumbers. They put chopped peppers. Whatever they can chop that's indigestible, they put in the sour cream. And they ate a lot of it. A lot of it. And then they rock on the back porch. And he says, so that kills them? No. That's just the beginning. I said, what kills the Jews is they begin to sing Dancing in the Dark in the wrong key. Dancing in the Dark should be sung like this, like the old 1928 Bing Crosby version. Dancing in the dark till the tune ends, waltzing in the dark, and it soon ends. We can face the music together, dancing as we're dancing in the dark. That's Crosby, that's perfect, that's as high as you can go. The Jews don't know that. Here they go. Dancing in the dark. Look where they're starting. Till the tune ends, we're waltzing in the dark, and it soon ends, and we can face the music together, dancing. And they would have a stroke and die, because they never started in a low enough key. He liked that routine. He hired me for $50 a week, and I was his sidekick. I was his writer, and wormed my way into the Show of Shows writing staff.
And then you'd sit there with Sid. And you go over the routines, and he would throw in ideas, and you'd throw in ideas.
Sid was very, very creative.
And then all of a sudden, he would walk out, and do it.
Yeah, well, it was a week of rehearsal,
It's like Saturday Night Live. Almost.
Yeah, Saturday Night, but the writers, I don't know how they work it, but the writers and the actors were always in the room together at once. Sid was there we'd split up sometimes. Some people would do the professor, some would do the movie, some would do
We never wrote material and then slipped it under the door like the Jackie Gleason show.
That's true. Jackie
Gleason never was with the writers.
No, he never wanted to rehearse.
He'd be in, the Park Sheraton,
Yes.
and the writers would write, and they'd finish a sketch, they'd slip it under the door, Gleason would read it, he'd open the door to throw it out shredded, meaning for them to slip another
over.
And by the way, what he accepted, they rehearsed without him. He never rehearsed. He came in on Saturday, and the blocking was wherever he went. That's why they had a round table. He just walked around the table. They followed him. Oh, they watched.
Not knocking Gleason.
Oh no, genius! How he did that without any rehearsal?
He was a hero of a comic.
Yeah.
Great big hero, wonderful comic.
Because he could deliver the lines perfectly.
Because when he decided he was going to do something, he did it better than anybody in the world. But Sid worked with us. Sid was a creative guy, loved to write, loved to create characters. Sat in the room, worked with us, and would woodshed with us, and he was right at the beginning of each scene, and knew. Once in a while, the only errors we made were there'd be Max Liebman would change the running order, so Sid would be dressed for a Roman toga thing, for the Roman court, and he'd fly into a sketch, and it'd be like a business table and a lot of guys in banker suits, and here he would be in a Roman toga. And he never lost a beat. He'd sit down, he'd say, those damn costume parties, they end so late. Now,
this is close. He just made up something that almost was true. Where something like that happened, but that's hysterical. It's funnier.
Well, it's as good as...
Yeah, it's better. It's better. No, he actually, his dresser once put up the wrong clothes on him, and he was sitting there with gladiator
and he had
shoes
right
on.
into it.
Yeah,
now, was that
hysterical?
Yeah. That experience...
costume parties.
That experience was as good as any creative experience either of you
has
ever had.
It was college for me.
Yeah, it was Liebman University. Max Liebman was our
every comedian
there, and our head writer.
Every writer there learned from the other writers. We all learned. Well, Neil Simon learned to be a playwright there. He became the playwright, the preeminent playwright.
I guess we didn't do one-liners. We did the character comedy.
Yeah, well, and then there was later on when the shows left, and we had people like Larry Gelbart, who became Joe Stein, who wrote Fiddler on the Roof and Zorba the Greek. We had Mike Stewart there, who wrote Hello, Dolly, and Bye Bye Birdie. They were a powerful guy. We're forgetting
Woody Allen came in for a bit.
Woody Allen came in at the last year.
For 6 months or
We had Aaron Rubin, who created Gomer Pyle and did the Andy Griffith Show. I mean, there were people who could really... We didn't know. We didn't know every one of us would... And then we got a guy named Mel Brooks, who was a little 20-year-old guy, and he became Mel Brooks and Brooks Films. This man here.
Yes.
Filmmaker.
I became a
but
filmmaker.
that was a college for all of us. We learned from each other.
And there was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of kind of...
competition to get your stuff in.
Yeah.
Always.
We were kind of a litter of scratchy
But
kittens.
no
Everybody
great joke
wanted to get to
great joke ever didn't get in. When a joke was really great, nobody would argue
well,
with
Sid had 15 different antennae, and he'd point, he'd hear the joke, he'd point to either Gary Belkin or Aaron Rubin or whoever came up with that joke, and point to Mike Stewart, and he'd just do things monolithically, but he'd say, so Stewart would...
And if a joke didn't work, he had an imaginary Uzi, and he would shoot it out of the air. We knew what he was doing. He would shoot it out.
It's dead. It's out. Yeah.
It was a great experience. It was a great experience. We learned, I guess, everything that we learned later, we based on...
I think so.
I
made a whole life for myself with the Dick Van Dyke Show based on the fact I was in the writer's room of the Show of Shows. It was about
That was
a guy.
where the idea came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Dick Van Dyke was about it.
I was living in New Rochelle and going to work, and that's exactly what Dick lived in New Rochelle, and I didn't work with 7 writers because it's too expensive to pay 7 writers. So I wrote with Maury. He wrote with Maury and Rosie. Dick Van Dyke, the 3 of them wrote that Alan Brady Show, whatever it was.
And one of my most successful movies as Brooks films, not as Mel Brooks. I produced, you know,
Elephant Man, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And one of them was my favorite year, which was based on our experiences. When we'd have crazy, wacko guests that we had to watch and make sure, like
Yeah,
English.
Errol Flynn, he had to take out because they were afraid he'd get drunk. That's
Yeah.
where Swan came from.
What?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was in a-
we had to take out. Errol Flynn was one of our guests, and
Right.
and like Max Lehman said, stay with him 24 hours. Don't let him get into trouble with too many girls. Make sure that he doesn't drink too much. Bring him in. Well, I mean, I was like Howie Morris in the sketch with Sid Caesar. I was like stuck onto his leg. He was trying to shake me off, and you know, I'd end up in the Stork Club in places I never were in my life. I'd end up drinking margaritas and things. And he had these two Cuban girls, twins. They ended up in the towers of the Waldorf Astoria. I was trying to keep him sober and get him back to the show and learn his what lines. And he actually said that great line that's in the movie. I am not an actor. I'm a movie star.
Yes.
You know, it was a big, and it got.
Now,
it was
look what he got from it, and look what Neil Simon got, Laughter on the 23rd
Right.
Floor,
Yeah.
based on the writer's room of the...
Which was on Broadway, what, about 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yes,
And hilarious.
Yes, it was very good. It was
Everybody got
wonderful. We all got. Everybody
So
but
you got the
Sid.
Dick Van Dyke Show.
He got...
Neil got the.
But we also
a career
got
as a player.
appreciation for different kinds of humor. Everybody had a different kind of sense of humor. All appreciating each other, but there were different senses of humor.
And we were the court jesters for all of them. When everybody was low and
I would turn
down,
to him and say, I would turn
Carl
to him
would
and
interview me
I would turn
and-
and say, I understand, sir, that you are a submarine captain. You're out of uniform now, but I'd say that to him, and he'd
Yes, right.
become one.
we've got to get canned air. We've got to get more air and canned it.
What's the
I've come
biggest
up with a
problem in
subject.
submarines?
I've come up with a can. Listen to this. Perry Air. I'm going to can it. I'm going to take it down in the submarine. I'm going to keep it in my own locker. And every once in a while, when you hear, shh, that's going to be my Perry Air.
Yes, but
I'm sick and tired of breathing the bilge and the.
But as the captain, aren't you supposed to be in charge of the health of
As
all
the
your people?
captain, I'm also in charge of my own life,
Yes, I see.
my own happiness.
Well, it's the same thing that
You
happens
know.
in a submarine. You know, you go down with the ship. I mean, when you're above
No. If a submarine is depth charge and is hurt,
If something goes wrong?
then the captain is supposed to be the last one to go up with the ship.
Yes.
See, but I usually used to get up there first just to make sure that everything was calm on the top of the ocean and my men could swim
I see.
safely.
How did you get up there?
I always have. It's called the captain's hatch.
Yes.
Captain's hatch. It's in my toilet.
Yes.
The minute there's trouble, I broke 2 little valves and boom, I'd be on top of the ocean in less than 10
That doesn't
seconds.
seem fair or correct.
No, it's the fair. It's for the good of my men. What good? How would they survive with the death of their captain?
So it's heroic.
It's heroic. I did
Now, you
everything
see,
for my
now
men.
this
Everything.
this is something I asked him about 20 years ago. I never got these answers.
was
These are
better,
new
was
answers.
different
New
answers,
answers.
yeah.
New answers.
So there's no perfect script. This is every
No.
time you ask the question, you get a different answer.
And it's one of the reasons in the book
All right.
I insisted on making him tell me about his wives, because every time I asked him about his favorite wife, he'd give me a different favorite. So this time I made him give me 10 favorite wives, and the one that was his most favorite was interesting, was Bernice Zolotov.
Bernice Zolotov.
Yeah, it was turned out to be a very tragic and bitter.
Well, did you love each
episode
other?
in my life. Sure, we loved each other.
Well, what was the problem?
Bernice Zolotov happened to turn out to be Bernie Zolotov.
Oh my goodness! And when
How did you
Yes.
find out?
Well, I mean, I didn't
sorry.
find out during the kissing. The kissing was perfect.
it was good kissing?
Oh, like a bird, a million little kisses on the lips, a million. And then we undressed to go to bed.
You could feel something wrong.
And then
You could feel something.
And then I did feel something very wrong.
Oh, in your heart?
Not in my heart, below, way below.
What did it feel like?
I called the cop. That's it.
so,
I did.
So what happened? What
Well,
did he
I
say?
told him he had to go. I said, it's in the Bible, it's in the Torah, it's in the Talmud, it's in all the religious books.
Yeah.
No man shall intertwine with another.
Yes.
So-
and so what happened? Was
So
it
he
sad?
left. He left.
Was it sad? Did he
It
try
was
to
sad.
stay?
He cried.
Did he try to
He
stay?
said, I'll do windows. He said everything.
I'll do it.
Everything. But I said, Bernie, it's no good. It's no good.
And you felt bad about
I
it.
felt so bad.
But what did you learn from that experience?
How to kiss. A million little kisses before you do anything.
Like a little bird.
Like a little birdie.
In other words, your foreplay is based on what Bernie taught you.
Right.
That's
I never called it foreplay.
What did you call it?
Pre-play.
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 I see.
Foreplay is already complicated. You could pick up a baseball player.
Yeah,
Foreplay, you know?
But this is where the hummingbird phenomenon comes
Yes,
from, isn't it?
A million. I love a million little kisses.
Of all the people you've loved, all your wives,
Oh, I loved my
who was
whole
your favorite?
My wife, Zenobia.
Zenobia.
What was about? Wait, Zenobia is not in this book.
Oh, she's not in that book?
No, but she's in another.
Janice. Right.
By the way, did you know Helen of Troy?
I married her sister, Janice Troy.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's where it was. But Helen used to hang around the house. She was her sister.
What was she like?
She'd be half naked all the time. Hiya, Helen, how you doing? You know, I'd look. She was wonderful. She did have a face so beautiful that could launch 1,000
So it
ships.
was true, huh?
Oh, she was.
And her sister is beautiful.
Her sister, not quite as beautiful. She had a face, could launch a canoe. Not much.
What a nice body.
But a great body.
I know. You told me. You told me.
I could go on forever. The 2,000-Year-Old Man in the year 2000. This is the book, and this is the CD. This came about because some genius at William Morris said,
It was Dan Strone at the Morris office who got the idea that
The
there
guy
should
that went
be a
to Duke
book.
University.
a proud
Duke
Duke.
University.
Did he
Yes,
graduate,
yeah.
or did he just
Sure,
go?
he graduated.
Oh, he graduated.
The
Good.
tallest person at the Morris office. He got the idea that a book should be done about the 2,000-year-old man for the millennium.
Yeah.
And Harper Collins, a girl named Diane Reverend, thought it was a great idea. She made an offer he and I couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
And then, but we did refuse. And then George Shapiro, our manager, said, if you guys are having trouble with the book, why don't you do a record first? You'll get into the swing
it was
of it.
tough. It was tough, really. We sat down. We looked at each other.
Which we do often.
Carl asked me a question. I'd give him an answer. Carl would say, "You know, you're not even in the accent of the guy." I said, "Why? It's a book. What do
He
I have to
forgot
be in
the accent.
I said, "Yeah, you can't see the accent in a book. What I have to say, tone and hello." So it was pulling teeth. We could not write the book. And then George Shapiro, who is
My manager and Seinfeld's executive producer and manager.
brilliant guy,
He's
said,
out here. He's
"Do a
lovely. You'll
record."
meet him personally.
All right.
He said, "Do a record because that's what you know how to do, and from the record you'll get material enough to do the book." And we said, "Okay." We tried. So on Feb 21st, 1997, at the Complex Studios in Hollywood, we did a record. There were about 100 people, and it took a while for me to get the accent and to get the rhythm and to be free enough to do
lived
it.
there so long, you assimilated, lost
And finally, it worked. It worked. And then we did another session, March 21st, 1997, and we had about 200 people there. And they are all on. You can hear them laughing. You can hear Alan Alda screaming, and
Rob Reiner
and
is
Rob
screaming.
Reiner, and Dick Van Patten. I mean, all our friends. You're getting a lot of celebrity laughing.
Yeah,
On that
Dick
CD.
Van Dyke's in the first round.
What was thrilling about it, what was good about it, was like from the word go, it flowed.
Yeah.
The questions.
And then there was so much material, we had enough, not only for the record, but we had more material that we wanted to develop, so we started writing the book, and they both came out rather well, I think. And we do tell people, because people couldn't hear his accent, we do tell them that they'll enjoy the book better if they can read it with a Jewish accent, and if they have any problem, listen to the record and
You'll
get
get it.
reconstituted.
Thank you both. A great pleasure.
Can we shake
Thank you.
hands?
Yes, sir. Thank you. It was great. Thank
Always
you, Mel.
a pleasure,
My
Charlie.
Great
We
to see
watch you, you know. We like
We
you.
do, 11
Oh.
o'clock on the
We
coast,
do.
we
Oh,
see
man.
you.
We see you. We see you late at night on the coast. You keep us
Not
up.
that late, it's 11 o'clock.
11
We have no
o'clock, not that
excuse
No, not
to
that
see you.
bad, but your interviews are informative and penetrating and sometimes very embarrassing. You know, it's nice. It's nice when you grill a big shot. I like that.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Great to
Nice
see
to
you.
see you again.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.